Well, since the weather has been less than favorable recently with rain, and more rain, I haven't been able to do any blade tests and I don't have enough footage for reviews. So instead I figured I could do another first impression video, which people seem to appreciate as well. This is a gift I got for Kara, the Espada y Daga, made by Traditional Filipino Weapons. If you speak Spanish, you'll know that it simply means sword and dagger. So this is obviously the sword and the dagger, which is more of a knife really, since it's single-edged. This set is offered at Cult of Athena for $325 US, and it's quite interesting. I know nothing about Filipino weapons, neither about their history or how they were used, well, aside from having seen a few videos. But I can definitely appreciate them in terms of handling and aesthetics, minus the small guards. I'm not a fan of that, but otherwise very interesting. So let's look at the sword first. It's fairly short, at least compared to European swords. It's really only about an arm's length and has quite a nice handle, quite a unique shape, and this is made of a tropical hardwood. What I personally really appreciate about it is that it fits smaller hands really well, which is not surprising considering the geographical origin. In fact, if you have relatively large paws, this might feel a little awkward. Let's see here, thickness is 21.5 millimeters, or what's that? A bit over 3/4 of an inch. And this direction we are at 30.5 millimeters, or 1.25 about inches. And what I also appreciate is that the maker knew how to shape a handle to fit a human hand really well, which should go without saying, but I've handled a few things that felt really awkward, where I was wondering, like, is that made for a squid or something? It is, of course, a very light sword. As you can imagine, it's quite small, has a pretty narrow blade, but it's heavy enough to do the job, because you don't want an overly light blade, because that might not be able to cut very deeply, especially against clothing, which in a hot climate would of course be rather light. But in any case, you need a certain amount of heft for a blade to be effective, but at the same time, this is super fast. I mean, again, I'm not trained with a blade like this, so I'm not sure how you would use it, but you're just swinging it around like this. It's absolutely effortless. You can basically do all the work with just your wrist if you want to, which is really nice. You could do a very quick, deceptive cut like this. Wouldn't be as effective as a full shoulder powered cut, but it's really nice. I quite like it. By the way, it may look like a false edge on the back, but it's not fully sharpened. There is quite a bit of thickness left. It probably wouldn't take too much if you wanted to grind that down into an edge. I wish it already came with a sharp edge. That would be quite nice. False edge cuts can be quite effective, especially with a light weapon like this, because if your opponent evades the first cut, you can come right back without the need to turn your wrist around. So it's a very effective way of doing that. But again, it's not sharpened, which is a bit of a shame. But well, speaking of sharpness, it's pretty good. Definitely cannot complain. And then we've got the dagger, or rather knife. This is also unsharpened on the back, and it's extremely light. If you wanted to, you could swing this with 2 fingers, no problem. Not that there would be any point to it, and you would look like an imbecile doing it, but it's very light. And this would really be mainly for thrusting, I imagine. This would probably not be the most efficient cutter, but again, I don't know how these were used, so you could still cut with it, but it would probably be rather superficial. But this is definitely more for thrusting. For parrying, I don't think this would be useful at all. Against lighter swords, maybe you could do something, but really, as far as I see it, the only thing you could possibly do would be a deflectional parry, where you just let your opponent's sword slide off and sidestep. You just wouldn't be able to take an impact of a heavier blade straight on with this. Although I suppose you could do kind of a braced parry like this, but in any case, so definitely quite a nice knife as well. This could also be used as a tool, no problem. So definitely like that. By the way, this one fits really loosely in the scabbard, which it might just be this particular one. Since they're handmade, there's bound to be some variation. The sword, on the other hand, fits very well, so no problem. Holds it in just fine. And yeah, for a first impression, I think that's about it. I still need to do cutting tests with these to get an idea of how well they perform, how sturdy they are. Shouldn't really be a problem. They are pinned. I don't know exactly how long the tang is, if it goes through all the way or only 3/4 or something. I couldn't say, but I do expect these to be pretty good quality wise. I've had other blades from traditional Filipino weapons and no problem with those, but we'll see about that in the final review. So for now, that's it, and thanks for watching.